Great. Thank you, our viewers. We are now live. Thank you very much for joining us this wonderful morning. And today we are joined by a very wonderful friend. He is an entrepreneur and he will be joining us for this first session. It's the Founders Launch. For those who are joining us, just taking a little bit more time for people to join. The people are joining us. So we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, we are live on LinkedIn. So just allowing a few more people to join us, then we get started. Great. Thank you so much, those who are joining us. We're just taking a few more minutes for people to join, and then we get going. Just taking more time for people to join us. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us early morning for this session. This is Founders Launch, and today we are being joined by Gichuhi. Gichuhi is the co-founder and CEO of Afrigility. And in a short while, we'll be talking about Afrigility, what they do, and the kind of business they're building and value they're bringing to the market. Yeah, so thank you so much for those who are joining us. Taking more time, maybe 2 more minutes, then we get started. And I said we are streaming this live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. Okay, great. Thank you so much for those who've joined. It's 1 minute and then we get started. Our host today has an amazing story of the things they're doing to change the story in the marketplace. John Gichuhi, the co-founder and CEO of Afrigility. Thank you very much for those who are joining us. See people joining us. Okay, great. So I think we are ready to roll. Thank you so much again, our viewers, for choosing to join us early morning. This is Founders Launch, and today we have an amazing guest, George, from Afrigility. My name is William. I'm the host. So welcome to the Founders Launch breakfast session today, the 24th of September. So the Founders Lodge is all about entrepreneurship. It's about leadership. This is where we get an opportunity to interact with the founders, men and women who are doing amazing things in the field. And the goal is really to get us emboldened in our journey of entrepreneurship at whatever stage you might be, whether you just want to start your entrepreneurial journey or whether you want to scale or you're just thinking about. So the Founders Lodge is packed with women who are doing great things in the field. Journey, how did they start? market? What problems are they solving in the market? Right. So that is there's a connection issue, just trying to resolve that. Okay, cool. So that is the goal of the Founders Lodge. And today we're joined, like I said, by George. George is the CEO and co-founder of Afrigility. And I wanted to introduce Afrigility, and George, you'll have time to speak more about Afrigility and what you're doing in that space. But I wanted to say Afrigility is on a mission to set new rules on how we do warehousing, inventory management, inventory tracking, order fulfillment, and all that. So Afrigility is set to support businesses in their quest to gain more space when they want to scale, when they want to have more agility in how they do their businesses. So Afrigility is there to support them in that quest, right? So whenever you think about storage, George is telling me that in the past you think of warehousing as getting into contracts, signing lengthy contracts, mostly expensive, and your time there. And what he's saying is that his journey is to change that, where you do not have to commit to lengthy, expensive, rigid contracts. You can engage Afrigility, and with Afrigility, you are sure that you get space for your storage, storage of goods, order fulfillment, and that can be in a few days. So if you are running a business where you want a space just to keep your goods for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, it's really flexible for businesses. And this enables you to scale or to descale, move up or come down depending on what your business need is at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I'm joined by George Gichuhi, the co-founder of Afrigility. And like I said, Afrigility is a B2B tech company that is enabling businesses with warehousing, smart warehousing solutions. George, we are so happy to have you today. Thank you for joining us, and it's such an honor to have you this morning.
Thank you, William. Morning to viewers. I'm thankful to God, first of all, to even us seeing each other at such an early morning, because to man is a plan, but definitely there's a higher power that enables us to be able to share even our journeys, because our journey is, I always call it a summation, a sum of different things happening at various stages. So I'm really grateful and humble to be speaking to the audience, not because I'm the best, but because I have such an opportunity to be able to share that much of the little that I have been graced to be able to have. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, George, and welcome again. Welcome our viewers. We have George. Like I said, George is the co-founder and CEO of Afrigility. Afrigility is a warehousing, inventory tracking, order fulfillment solutions provider in Africa, and they're working with tens of thousands of small and growing organizations to help them scale their warehousing solutions more flexibly. So great, George. We want to do a small energizer. We call it this or that, just to learn a little bit about your personality. Let's do it. So morning or evening, George?
Always an early morning person.
Okay, great. Cooking or washing utensils?
I don't like washing utensils, but I love cooking.
Okay, great. Tea or coffee?
Tea always.
Tea always. Okay, wonderful. Cats or dogs?
Dogs, but my children are making to start thinking of loving cats because we already have one.
Okay. Night or day?
Day is better, but I could work in both.
Okay. Suit or jeans?
A mix and match. I'm transitioning from suits to trying on, but suits will always win.
Okay, wonderful. Cool. Thank you so much, George. Before we get to start and to know you a little bit more as a person, maybe you can have maybe some minutes to speak about Afrigility. I know I've talked a little bit about what Afrigility is doing, but I'm very, very sure that you're the best person 100% to speak about the solutions that you're providing and what is that problem in the market that you found that Afrigility is coming to fix. So could you kindly take just, a minute or 2 or 3 minutes to speak about Afrigility and what you're doing in the market, George?
Thank you, William, and thank you once more to the audience. And when we speak about Afrigility, we are speaking about offering agile solutions to the African market, especially in the supply chain domain, where warehousing forms a very key part of the supply chain journey. And why even warehousing? Warehousing is supposed to be a major, I want to find the best word to describe it. So it's a key cog in the success of having a successful supply chain. Goods moving from end to end. When you talk about manufacturing, you'll either be processing your raw materials through a warehouse. When you finish those goods, they will be processed through a warehouse. When you're doing your distribution, at some point they will be sitting in a warehouse. So a warehouse forms a very big part in the success or in the scaling of businesses, but it has remained to be a bottleneck to businesses being able to grow. And why do we even say that? One, for the last 30 years, warehousing has remained to be the same. And especially in our country, you'll hear most people talk about go downs. People see warehousing as something where you'll just store your goods. But warehousing, especially in the era of e-commerce, where in Africa, a lot of us are starting to appreciate the value that I can actually buy something online without necessarily leaving my house, is really getting adopted. But that adoption, we need to think about what does it take me to be able to deliver a full service or a product to a customer. Before you even deliver it, how close can it be so that even as a small business, I'm selling something on Instagram, on Facebook, or on my website, or I've set up an e-commerce shop, how easy is it for a customer product? And as COVID showed us that actually the supply chain industry has not had its seat at the table. We've always thought of logistics as something else, a small department or something around procurement that will be there. But as we are doing businesses in this era and in the future, how successful you will get your goods to your customer will determine how competitive and how much of a big moat you will have in the industry. We saw that during COVID, ships were not moving, things become so expensive because of how much it costs to be able to move goods from one point to another. Let's even talk about things like, for example, cross-border trade in Africa. It's really expensive. Running logistics in Africa is so expensive. So at Afrigility, we use a real estate asset, that is the warehouse, to provide a supply chain solution. And how do we do this? We, number one, provide a very flexible solution where we partner with warehouse owners to maximize on the utilization of their spaces. Because you will find that currently in the market that you have to set up a long-term lease, you'll find that maybe somebody that is running a warehouse, that warehouse is not ready to serve, for example, e-commerce. The kind of infrastructure that is fixed maybe is all dilapidated. So what we are looking at, how can we partner with warehouse owners to add the value in terms of their infrastructure, be able to aggregate demand so that they have total utilization of their spaces, while on the other end, instead of waiting for somebody to come and occupy 1,000 square foot of your warehouse, where you get, because currently in the market you'll wait for 6 to 8 months before your warehouse is occupied or longer. Well, on the other end, we have smaller business. For example, somebody has started preparing peanut butter house, and things are really growing because they have a very good product. They are selling it through friends on social media, so their growth is really happening. But then they can no longer hold their goods, for example, in their house, where they would need a small storage space. So you'll find that there's on one end of the more people that are looking for flexible storage, and on the other, the market, we have warehouse owners who are waiting for somebody who will come and occupy that whole space. So what we do is through a platform that we built, a marketplace platform, we are able to match small businesses that are looking for this flexible storage to warehouse, bring in the tech equation so that once you bring your goods to this warehouse, you are able to track and have real-time visibility around what is happening, how much stock do I have in the warehouse that is remaining, do I have, and even help you data to help you your demand planning, help you scale, because that is the other advantage that we offer on our marketplace. For example, if you're operating your business in Nairobi, if you want to expand brick and mortar, it would cost you to find a space in Mombasa, set it up, look for people to employ, and maybe even think about technology. Primarily, find business owners, their primary strength is not running logistics. So with that solution is that, for example, using Afrigility, you can be able to move your goods in Mombasa, in Nakuru, have them stored near your customers in one of our houses without you thinking around. You are renting facilities, you are employing people, or you're even thinking around figuring out how technology will work. So in essence, the solution that we are bringing larger brands, because solution cuts across board for the smaller people, the smaller brands to the bigger brands, where, like, for example, in manufacturing, housing initially was zoned for manufacturers, but now we are helping manufacturers have their goods sitting closer to their market. If, for example, your warehouse is in Babadogo, you are manufacturing unga, and we have the product sitting in warehouse in Nakuru, so that traders within Nakuru need the stock replenishment, small shops that do not have large spaces to hold large inventory. Once they order goods from you, that actually goods will come from 1 to 2 kilometers away from their shop, reducing the time, ensuring that a shopkeeper did not experience stockouts, and you as a manufacturer, you are able to serve your customers real time. The other thing that we are doing at Afrigility is targeting international brands that are looking to set base in Africa, so they don't have to struggle thinking around how would we come, start resourcing for a facility, set it up, and run operations. We provide you a plug-and-play solution where you bring the product that you are trying to market and be able to move instantly out there. And all this is enabled by a team that is dedicated and tapping into the world of technology to do and offer smart warehousing. Warehousing is not just an structure, but it's a tool that will help you scale your business, but also improve your efficiency and save on quite a number of costs that businesses will not enjoy the quality of having idle capital. You are able to utilize your capital better in your key functions of, can I better my product? How can I market better to acquire more? Instead of thinking around spending on capex, building warehouses, tying your money in rents or in deposits will be required. So in essence, that is Afrigility.
Great, thank you, George. Thank you, Zaina, for pointing that out. I hope the sound is now. Kindly let me know if the sound is okay now. So thank you, George, for giving us a bit of detail around what Afrigility is doing. I'm sure we'll have more time to get into the specifics about the business and how this came about and how you built this over time. And I'm sure also our viewers will have a chance to ask you questions. So George, the people who are joining us this morning are entrepreneurs, and others are people who aspire to be entrepreneurs. we might say that the heart is willing, but maybe the body isn't willing yet. So we want to inspire them so that they can move from where they are to another level. Some people feel like entrepreneurs are people who are born like that, because it takes a lot of deal of effort to move from what you're doing to entrepreneurship. It's really like there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of friction. So George, could you kindly maybe speak a little bit about George as a boy growing up? How was that like?
Thank you. Growing up, born and raised in Kangemi, Nairobi. That is in when you mention Kangemi and mention Westlands in the same in the sentence, sometimes it doesn't like it's complete, because is an informal settlement. I'm so proud to have been born there, brought up, because the experiences shaped my life. Growing up as a small boy, I found my mom and dad selling food to construction laborers, and I with them in doing that. I joke with my children and tell them that for me, my parents couldn't take me in school in good time because of various challenges around resources. So for me, I did do nursery, pre-unit, class 1. By the grace of God, I started schooling into. So it's been a challenging upbringing, but above all, growing up in Kangemi, went to high school in Kiambu, and growing up as a normal child, doing the day-to-day responsibilities that one is supposed to be able to do, especially supporting your parents as a firstborn. You'll find always you are the first assistant to that. If your father or mother are anything in this kind of business, you'll always find yourself engaging. I remember still in my early days in primary school, my parents, after selling to laborers, they were able to start a small kiosk. It was next to the Mountain View Estate. You'll always find to an estate there's a crop of small businesses that are built around that to support that system. You'll always find us distributing milk and bread in black mambas. Those are bicycles. I'm old, but I definitely got that experience. Going to high school. After high school, I was lucky, for lack of a better word, out of my commitment in church. I got an opportunity through the church to train in community mental health, and got an opportunity to work with an organization called Basic Needs Basic Rights as a community mental health volunteer. So I worked at Kangemi Health Center for a year and a half. After that, my dream was that after high school, because I expected that I would get a straight A to be able to join campus on parallel. So when that didn't work, I had to find a different route to joining campus, because I got a C+, and at that time in 2005, the cutoff was actually moved up from a B- to actually a B+. So at that time, I tried to see who else can I take myself to college, because I knew my parents could not afford that. Because even high school, I was it was a scholarship, because I had performed well in primary school. So at that time, I started working in the community. My goal was actually to see, because there was a talk, or I knew already, actually, if you did something better, or you joined, for example, an NGO, they would be able to school you through to college. Mm-hmm. So 1 year and a half down the line, I see actually things are not working the way I expected. I'm working, but part-time is volunteer. So I started to figure out what else can I do. So at that time, I reached out to a few of my youths in church. We started a cosmetic shop. So here we will sell various cosmetic products, especially to ladies, especially younger girls. We will help them, like, for example, and hair, so that you could buy from us. We could supply braids. We go get them from town and to local salons in Kange, in Wange, in Hiru, in those areas, just to be able to get ourselves going, but also that didn't work out because we were still young and naive. So those were some of the early failures. From there, I was able to get involved in various things and Jengo, what we call construction as a labor. I've tried in doing restaurants 3 times, small hotels, the ones that we will call akisumungo, for lack of a better word. This is a small joint specialize in preparing short fish meals with ugali. And so my journey towards that, I married, but before that, I joined Massey University. Did first year, second year. By the time I was doing second year, I was that was 24, 25 years old. I met my wife, started dating, and before we knew it, we had a baby coming, so we had to sacrifice school and build a family. So with that, I was looking at what could I do to be able to provide for my family. So at that time, I had to look for something that is serious. So I landed on insurance, selling insurance, especially life products from an insurance perspective. The bad news is that Kenyans, we don't do a lot of insurance. So we buy insurance especially because you are required by law to have that particular insurance, or if you are moving to a building because you're supposed to have fire or something, it happens. So you can imagine selling a life insurance product and education policy, you will really struggle. You'd be very smart in a shirt. At the end of the day, come back home with nothing, anything, because you're being paid on commission. So at that time, I remember very well, my wife got really irritated because at the end of the day, you're supposed a man to provide for your family. That is not happening. She actually challenged me, George, I think this one will not work. This one is not working. You are very, very smart, but we can't eat smartness at the end of the day. So you just have to step up and think of something else and look at what people find in you, because the other side of me, I'm very resourceful, I'm very helpful. For those that have engaged with me will know that even before selling anything to you, I'll always strive to know how I can help you. So in that journey, she challenged me, George, look at what people see in you, because 90% of the day you'll find people calling you, asking you for help on various things. George, if I needed to find this building, if I needed to find this item, where would I get it, or where would I locate it? And I will freely of charge be able to help. So, and that is what gave birth to what I started before Afrigility, being an errands guy. So I would help people, like, for example, if you are looking for something or you want to locate a certain building in town, I would actually offer to take you there. And automatically, as a way of appreciating, you'd maybe provide me with transport and buy me lunch and maybe come home with 200. That grew to a point that if, for example, William is looking to move and you're employed full-time, George, will you find me a house that I can rent? I want to move to a new place like in Uthiru, in Kino, in Muthiga, and I will move around looking for empty houses and get you the best top 3 options. So we'll spread the message. If you are looking for a house, there's someone that can help you. I graduated into that and moved on. I would help people do basic deliveries, shopping. And at that time, WhatsApp was really starting to hit. So I would introduce myself to people in WhatsApp groups as, hey, William, will you introduce me to your network in the WhatsApp group that you are in for my services, that I can help members do their day-to-day errands. While you're focusing on your employment, I could maybe help you do your deliveries for a side hustle that you have, because you know Kenyans are entrepreneurial. At the same time, we have Kenyans that are selling on social media. So I would help them do their shopping, do their day-to-day deliveries. If you're manufacturing peanut in the house, I will be your go-to delivery guy. And what will make me stand out will be, like, for example, you've had an experience where you have a nduthi guy. So I was that guy. So you have a nduthi guy who tells you, hello, mzigo yako imefika, like your package is ready, is here. So you can imagine that. I know you're laughing because you've experienced that. So I actually realized that I could do better. Where, like, for example, I'll tell you, hi William, my name is George. I have a package from Zaina or from this person, and I'm headed to you. By the time I'm engaging with you that, and I offer you very great customer experience, it would lead to you even very acceptive. By the time I'm reaching you, hi William, I usually run errands for Zaina. I would be glad in future for you to consider me. So that's how I built my life around that, and running errands for people in the gig economy. And by the grace of God, I was able to see opportunities in it and ask myself, how many other young people that are starting off families that are not stable or that do not have jobs that I could actually absorb into what I'm doing? Because as my customer numbers grew, I realized I needed help. So I would reach out to fellow riders, help them learn how they could do better, communicate better, package themselves better, and we are able to serve the customer that I was getting in. So I was able even to now get branded as the errands guy.
Right.
So that journey is what has informed my journey, various things, various challenges. But one of the things is that I'm where I am here because of various reasons. Some of them range from my wife challenging me to be better in the responsibilities I was, and in my challenges. That is what pushed me to, as much as my family has come from an entrepreneurial angle, it was as a necessity to venturing into business, and out of that, growing also the little that I was able to do, to a point that I grew the Errand Sky brand into partnerships with, for example, the Ministry of ICT, Ajira, among other partnerships, to be able to look at how could I be able to be involved in the space where young people would find alternative, decent job opportunities in the gig economy without necessarily expecting somebody will be able to employ them. So that has been my journey, and looking at what have I been doing that is really standing out, and what are the problems some of the customers that I'm facing that I'm serving, could I be able to be of value in? And then appreciating the role technology has had in various things. That has been the journey that has led to where I am today.
Okay, George, thank you so much for that wonderful story. You truly have done so many things. You kind of come out as a jack of all trades. And I've been reading stories around like some of the greatest entrepreneurs that we have around. You can think about Strive Masiyiwa, for example, the founder and of Econet, and Richard Branson of Virgin Group. They all have this story like, oh, I started selling sweets and newspapers when I was in primary school. And when I listen to your story, it's kind of, does it mean that you have to start selling something when you're in primary school, George? I'm just like, curious, like, your story rhymes with the stories that I've heard from other entrepreneurs. They were selling something during their formative years. Is that true, or is that just like, let's say it's an exception?
I don't know how to specifically address that by saying that that is how great entrepreneurs are made, because for me, I believe in your quest for looking or for solving some of the aspirations you have or some of the challenges you face, they'll always lead you to a certain direction. There will be people who, because why I'm careful to not really come directly guns blazing, that you have, for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to have started early, is that we should not also glorify entrepreneurship so much to a point that we demean those that are in employment. Because I always believe, like, for example, it's been said also in other circles, those that have been in employment and are able to get that molding and that experience to see how organizations are run, they do better also in terms of building their brands, because they already have some experience managing somebody else's business. The other bit of the story, like, for example, for some of us who start doing things, start getting attracted to entrepreneurship so early in their lives, is that weirdly, my sister who follows me, people used to think she will do better as a business person because she was all these outgoing person. For me, it came by the default that I was a firstborn, that I would get pushed into so many responsibilities. So I would say yes, that plays a part in you becoming a great entrepreneur. But I also believe that sometimes it's as a result of the various things that are happening in your life that will inform your journey. For me, it was an answer to so many challenges that I was going through. I needed to have a different life. Maybe I will tell myself, I would really want to live a different life than where I've come from. I didn't really want my children to go through what I've maybe gone through for a while. So different experiences are what makes us follow the lines that we follow. So I hope I've answered you in so many words.
Yes, thank you. And just following up on what you're saying, George, it's more like saying something that I've believed in, that going into employment and stepping out to pursue entrepreneurship, they are actually self-complementing. I always think that there are so many people who feel like it's either or, like I have to choose this or that one. Like they are kind of they are two extremes in tension. And yet now from what you're saying is that actually starting off working, and I know that, I mean, there are people who are actually entrepreneurs within their workspaces, right? But also starting off working in an organization which is built and it has systems, it actually helps you learn on how to run a proper business, isn't it? And it also, I think, I mean, it also helps you get capital that you need to run your own business. But really, it's not to say that those guys who are in entrepreneurship, they're much better than those people who are in business. I mean, in employment. Is that accurate from what you believe?
Definitely. I always believe entrepreneurship is as a result of you trying to find a space to provide either a solution to a problem that maybe, for example, you've been employed and you actually, because these are also some of the stories of some of the great entrepreneurs that we have, that I was working for William Mokuria, and every time that I would try to deliver on my role as the logistics person, I would always get into challenges finding the right warehousing. So out of that, an idea is born. Actually, how many people like my boss going through such a challenge? How can I be able to provide such people with a flexible solution or something that will make their businesses do better? So you see, your business is born out of you serving other people. Because for me, I always believe in serving and in service. And if that is the spirit that guides entrepreneurship, that you are trying to provide a solution, you're trying to serve others, you have to look at how can I make things better for others to be able either to run their business. Because I always say entrepreneurship is an answer to other challenges. So you are converting challenges into an opportunity by serving those. So definitely, yes, it's a good place that you can start as somebody who is employed, and a business is born out of what you are doing. The other angle is also that the experiences you have, you would want to do something in a different way. So you'll find that, for example, in Kenya, we have, after you complete college, sometimes you'll be told there are no employment opportunities. Go try a business. So by default, you'll be going to try to look for a job in entrepreneurship. So you'll go maybe start selling clothes somewhere. And while that, you actually start realizing, actually, if I did something to ladies along WhatsApp groups on Facebook and use social media, your business starts growing. So by default, you start actually realizing things are moving and you're learning. So for me, say there are so many routes to entrepreneurship, but definitely I wouldn't want just to say that there are a set of special people who are built for entrepreneurship. And neither is it that as an entrepreneur, when things don't work, that you can't go for employment. I've seen people who business has failed and they've gone back to recalibrate through seeking an employment.
Beautiful. Thank you, George. And then bouncing back to Afrigility, there is no doubt that you're actually disrupting the market, the traditional market, the way we've been doing warehousing, the way we've been handling inventory, the way people think about, tracking and order fulfillment. Even those people are in e-commerce space. I remember sometimes some years back, we were looking for a warehousing space. We wanted a space where we wanted a space where we can actually keep our goods for 1 year. And I remember we spent around 3 months moving from Babadogo to industrial area, Mombasa Road, just looking for a space where we could keep goods. But we discovered that commercial leases, they are so prohibitive. When we met people, they were like, you know what, that's how this industry is. So it's 5 years lease, exit, you have to give this long notice period and so on and so forth. You have to pay 3 months deposit. And it was like, wow, I mean, it wasn't working for us. Totally, it wasn't working for us. We really struggled and then now we saying like, it's already expensive, the lease is long. Now let's look for somebody who is willing to give us like a softer exit clause, because I mean, we were just looking like, if we don't want to do this thing next month, does that mean that we are really stuck in this rigid contract, right? So I remember that was what we were looking for. And finally, luckily, we got somebody who was willing to tell us, like, hey, you can give us 3 months notice. You can imagine now, 3 months notice is the least we can get. And even that one, we went to beg. So I can imagine the pain that people go through looking for warehousing solutions, and the traditional solution, warehousing solution, doesn't work for a guarantee. We've tested this in the past, and I know it doesn't work for most people, especially the SMEs who are looking for flexible solutions. So, George, now I just curious, like, how did you come with this idea of like, this is an idea that we can test, let's go with it? Is it like a personal experience, like what we had that time, or how did that come about? And also, I was curious about, how did you go about validating that we have people who are willing to do that, and they're actually willing to pay you for that solution that you're offering?
Afrigility was born out of a failure, and I'll say why. Yeah, so you'll know where we've come from. So was running errands guy. It was a one-man show. Like, as much as I had a partner, at that time I got into bigger opportunities, but I didn't know that sometimes getting into big opportunities as a small business could kill you. And why do I say so? Out of my passion, out of my love, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we followed up into the things that we are doing. At that time, I introduced a new thing in the business where we will partner with institutions to be able to channel now young people who are coming out of college to try out into the gig economy, where we will take ample graduates in finance and accounts to be able to intern in small businesses, guys doing digital marketing, graphics design, to be able to help these MSMEs. And we will partner with corporate bodies to be able to have them intern at those organizations, but at a pay. You, as a small business, you will get a graphics designer, somebody to help you with your bookkeeping and your digital marketing, free of charge for 90 days. So this will give an opportunity to a young person to be able to put the skills they are learning in, or they've learned in school, to start testing them out and mold them into somebody who is employed. And as that was happening, I thought that because it's a big partnership, I'm signing MOUs that would get these people paid. So you can imagine you have young people that are committed to small businesses. They're supposed to have those monthly stipends. So I thought, because I have very, very big MOUs, that they have the MOUs will do pay promptly at the end of the month. That did not happen. So first month, take money from your golden eggs, that is the delivery. That was among the best performing services at Errands Guy. So I will take money for that, be able to pay these interns, they can still remain in these businesses. I was hitting month 3. I had already run out of resources. I had gotten loans, and some of the partners, I was thinking that we had MOUs that they would facilitate in payment of these young people. That did not happen. That you would need to have a ton of processes, reports for you to have money released, which I even gave up on following up on. So things went south really fast, and that was a big one. So I had to even close the errands guy. But also in dealing with that frustration, I asked myself, actually, as a part of my asking myself, what can I do next? What was the service that was really well at errands guy? So one of the services that was really doing well was delivery service. There was a bit of last mile logistics. So we were helping small businesses run their day-to-day deliveries and also customer support around last mile experience. So I picked last mile logistics as the only unit that we would focus on based on the bigger vision that we had Terrence guy. At that time, I'm happy to have Zena on this call. I see she was among the initial people I reached out to with the idea that I wanted to focus on last mile logistics. But because I didn't have a supply chain background, I needed also to draw some of the things that I needed to have in place, because now I was coming into a logistics space full-fledged. And also you have to go through sometimes a business person. I was coming in supply chain industry as an outsider, but I had an idea. I had tried serving businesses. I was looking at how could I make better. So how I was introducing the business back then was, and the brand was called Mzigo until we rebranded into Afrigility. So it was to help small businesses run their day-to-day delivery needs to their customers while also integrating technology into that equation. You would call us the likes of Sandy, Army Truck, or other brands that are into last mile logistics or the logistics space, especially from a transport angle, integrating tech into that. So while doing that, we were introducing our business as a last mile logistics solutions and warehousing. So warehousing was something that would come in later, because for us, we knew where there was money was in the logistics, the transport bit of things. While I was doing that, we got our first initial big customer, did over 400 orders. And as we were doing that, we were also pitching to other customers. And one of the customers that I was speaking to, they are very well doing startup, has been through Y Combinator. He actually told us, George, as much as you are telling us you can provide us with a solution, because one of the things that we were employing back then was for us to start serving you, we would come to see your operations to be able to customize a solution that critically answers to your needs. So in this case, we had told this client, we want to provide you with a transport solution. We have a fleet of vehicles, motorbikes, and pickups and vans, but we would want to understand how things operate. So we go to their warehouses at 4 a.m. in the morning, because that is when they start dispatching goods, and go through their operations processes. But interestingly, when we were doing a report on what we saw in our proposal, we also told them that first, to serve you guys, we would wish for you guys to look at how you could do better in terms of ABCD, how you are preparing a dispatch operations. Because with those gaps, even if you get a good partner in terms of last mile logistics, you will still have gaps. The CEO actually came back to us and told us, guys, you mentioned something that is really a big problem to us. Will you have a solution? And at that time in my team, I had guys like Zainangoge, who is on this call, among other people. And by then also, I had reached out to a couple of advisors that have been in the tech space, that have done things in various markets. So we come back to them and tell them, actually, this is something we can be able to provide. We could support you. And this customer comes back and tells me, actually, it's not just us who has a problem. We also have other high-end startups in this space that are doing e-commerce, that are really struggling with warehousing. We start digging deep, understanding the warehousing world, how things have been, what is happening in other markets in terms of warehousing, and how e-commerce is being served from warehousing. And we look at how Amazon are doing their Amazon Prime or Amazon warehousing. Within this space, as that is happening, don't think that we are actually onto something. People think we're in a very rigid industry. So we continue, despite the fact that this will not work, start pushing. And we've been validated by international Amazon, starting what we are calling AWD, Amazon Warehousing and Distribution. Zara, the biggest fashion remote, starting to be in control of their supply chain. and looking at how they can integrate smart warehousing. That was the journey that led us to where we are at Afrigility. So Afrigility is a pivot of our last mile logistics that we were doing, where we realized actually warehousing as a segment of the logistics industry is really not working out as it is, that needs to be disrupted. So that's the long story to get to Afrigility.
Great. Thank you, George. In fact, you answered my question that I wanted to ask about HCS that you started in 2015. I actually wanted to see whether did you pivot that to Afrigility, or whether it's a business that runs separately?
Yeah, actually, it's so every experience you find that you always want to get better, and that is one thing about me as a person. I'm always working every day. Like, people will think that apart from business, maybe things are pretty easy for us on the end. Like, I will tell you, not any one time will I not be going through maybe a session, maybe on YouTube whenever I get some free time, just to make myself better. I always say, I now be a lecturer based on some of the content I've been taking from YouTube, trying to get myself better, self-improvement, learn how things are happening out there, that despite I may not be able to have afford sometimes back ticket pay, a flight to go see how things are happening in the US, I'm able to get those experiences through, like for example, the content that is shared on YouTube, what is happening in the world of warehousing, how smart warehousing, how technology is disrupting things, how things have happened. So I'm a never learner, and that is what really informs some of the pivots that I do in the business that I'm doing for also my personal growth.
Wonderful. Thank you, George. I'm just trying to imagine with the advent, with COVID coming in, and some of the things that we saw businesses do, like, for example, initiate delivery as part of their core business. We saw that happening a lot across multiple businesses. You know, that time when customers were not able to venture out and go to a supermarket or go to a restaurant to buy things. We saw so many businesses come out and say, hey, we are able actually to deliver to your house. Did you see that as something that accelerated the acceptance of agility and customers and businesses willing to invest more on some of the solutions that you're offering at Agility?
So the interesting thing that the journey during COVID, actually, we got opportunities to be able to serve, because that was the time that I was transitioning also, and I was experiencing some of the challenges. So even in my challenges, we got an opportunity through COVID to be able to support various initiatives that were happening. Like, we were involved in the distribution of food items, PPE kits around to communities in where we had partnered with, for example, with Giuliani the artist, based on the community initiatives he runs, among other organizations. We were supporting to do day-to-day logistics for the period where COVID was. And at that time, businesses started appreciating that actually just manufacturing a good item, a good product is enough. If you can't figure out how that service will reach a customer, that if a disruption, how would I be able to seamlessly get my goods to a customer? So during COVID, there have been a lot of things born out of that. One of it is that supply chain has or got its true seat at the table of the bigger boys. That actually people realize that logistics are an important and a great foundation to how we get our goods cost. What does it benefit you as a business person if you struggle so much to make a product? You go get loans in terms of capital to manufacture, but you cannot get item to your customer. What would it mean for you as somebody who is from China or from any other market to be able to supply in the market something as simple as your phone cover, as your earphones? That those things need to be put on a ship. They need to get at the port of Massa, be able to be received in a warehouse and dispatched to you. that for you to be able to buy from your favorite e-commerce shop, that those guys need to find a rider. Those things that were ignored, that trucks would spend countless number of days on the border along Malaba. Goods would perish along the roads because things were not working during COVID. So at that time, people started realizing, actually, when I'm seated in my house, I would want to know what is happening with movement of my goods. How would I be able to have visibility that I'm not able to move from where I am, but I need to know what is happening to my goods seated somewhere, maybe, for example, in a warehouse. And those are some of the things that Afrigility is providing. That, for example, you can be seated in a remote place, but using your phone, you could actually be able to get analytics around. This is the movement of stock I'm actually selling on Instagram. I'm telling George, hey, George, I need these orders fulfilled tomorrow. So George will prepare, break bulk in terms of the packages we receive from you in bulk in our warehouses, and be able to have that delivered to your customers without you even getting into contact with your goods. And that is the kind of innovation, kind of things that we are doing in the market to help businesses actually know that you only need to focus on what you are good. Focus on selling, manufacturing, and the rest you will have to work with people who are good at it.
Thank you, George. George, like I said earlier, some of the people who are joining us this morning are entrepreneurs, but also I know we have quite a number of people who want to learn from you. They want to start doing something, but they're not so sure. One of the things I realize is the fact that sometimes to start a business, there's a capital component to it, right? Which means that you have to invest some money. There's some people who say, oh, I don't have money to put in a business. But one thing I realize is the fact that there are people with money, there are people with skills, there are people with experience, but then they are afraid to make a jump because they're afraid, like, what if I make a jump and I invest this amount of money that I've earned for a long period of time? I've worked so hard to earn my 50,000 or 100,000. I'm afraid to invest this in a business and then lose it. And I mean, they're right, because the chances of losing they're high, of course. Yeah, a business is either it will work or it might not work. So there's a chance that you can invest money and lose. So what would you say? What would you tell these people who want to make a jump but they are kind of holding back because they are afraid, they're worried? And is there any just a minute? Is there any experience that you have from your previous engagement or starting a business that you'd like to share with those people? George?
Yeah, thank you. Capital comes in so many forms. And why do I say capital comes in so many forms? I'll, for example, quote my example. So when I was in insurance, things were not working out, and I was supposed to continually meet my obligations. What happens? At that time, I started running errands. What was the greatest capital that I had? Was myself. That I could walk, that I could move from one point to another, and that I could actually request for an opportunity from someone. Because various business ideas will require different forms of capital. So that is something that we have to agree, first of all, that capital comes in so many forms. There is a certain idea that will only require your presence. So like running errands, for what was majorly required was myself. And the other part that was required maybe is having a basic phone that will be able to write a message, make a call. But the greatest asset at that time was me, that I could be able to have an idea, but also come out and be able to say, actually, I'm here, William, because you invited me to this opportunity. You started Founders Lounge because you felt there was a need. And the capital that you invested was either one, because you have a skill around journalism, and then looked at how well I be able to make this run. Like, for example, are you sitting on a studio? Yes. Have you invested a lot in that studio by buying wireless mics and all that? No. because there are other platforms that have been built where you, as somebody who has journalism skills, you can start off without necessarily investing in all those equipments like a studio. So using, like, for example, the streaming service we are using, we are running a studio. So different needs can be able to inform us directions. And today it's not as hard as it was early in the days to start a business. That we have technology platforms that are able to make it easier for you to sell. Like for example, using social media, you may need to employ guys in marketing. So starting a business requires capital. Capital comes in various forms depending on what you are looking at doing. But I always believe the greatest capital is the determination from the person. Will you fail? Actually, you will fail many times. You will fail many times. But then, not giving up, I always say it's not individuals that, it's what you tried to do that failed, either because you did not pay the right attention, because also entrepreneurship is not merciful, for lack of a word. If you don't do the right thing, maybe, definitely you will burn. Buy maybe, for example, some clothes, you want to sell them cheaply than what you bought and expect to make money. You'll burn definitely your fingers. Spend time in learning, in improving yourself, but also out. So that is the greatest capital, I'd say. But then capital continues growing. The capital needs to continue growing. That, for example, in us growing Afrigility, at point we needed to develop the platform. So I looked at the gaps that I had. I'm not technical, so I had to find somebody who is good in tech, and I had to give up a portion of the equity that I own. I had to reach out to another co-founder who has worked for the likes of DHL. So I looked at the gaps that I have and then realized, what will I need in terms of capital? Capital may come in terms of somebody else who is skilled that you can join forces. The other form of capital would come into, for example, there are somebody who has money that does not have an idea. You could reach out and tell them that I'm looking for this kind of investment. Would you come in and be able to support my vision, be able to get path? But also you have to have moved, not just by saying that you have an idea. Can your idea work? Has it been tested elsewhere? If it's something that is unique, what would be the journey? Have you thought through what you want to do even for you to attract that capital? And they know that, for example, in Africa, capital is not cheap. Also that it's not easy to unlock this capital. What will be the barriers or the challenges that you would have to go through for you to get what you're doing to be even known out there? There will be a lot of building in silence. Are you willing to sacrifice some of those things to be able to get into what you're doing? So I was just, in a nutshell, saying capital comes in so many forms, but then also there's a lot more to that, more than just capital, that happens for you to start something.
Great, George. Thank you for that. Just to remind our viewers that you can chat your question or your comments. If you have any question that you'd like George to answer, George is here and he'll be able to respond to that. So George, talking about co-founders, you've just mentioned about co-founders. And I know there are so many people who have trust issues. And basically they don't know how to approach the issue of getting people into the team, the co-founders. I saw you have a wonderful team of co-founders. Would you kindly share with us what is that process? How is that process like to look for co-founders who complements you, who brings value? How does that look like? And what are some of the things that should we be careful about when you are looking for co-founders?
So I've burnt my fingers before in a co-founder. So it's never 100% that you'll find everything that you're looking for, but you'll always find somebody who ticks boxes. So how did I get to my current two other co-founders? One, a CTO. So 4 years ago, while running errands, I was also participating in quite a number of events like what we have today.
So he was a panelist at a MasterCard Foundation that was happening at Dusit, where we used to have, the name is not coming, there was like an accelerator that was based at Dusit. We would invite various speakers. So at that time, running logistics, and I was tapping into e-commerce. That is around 2018, 2017. So Ivan, who is our current CTO, was speaking based on his experience working within the e-commerce startup space and helping brands, both legacy, be able to tap into the world of e-commerce. So while he's speaking after the meeting, I reach out to him and tell him, hey, I'm trying to build this and this and this, and I'm looking at how I can integrate tech. So we start conversing, we start talking, and actually it didn't work out immediately because he was also engaged in something else. So I was looking for somebody who was really available full time. So I realized that actually this guy is not really available. So I jumped and moved to other things, but I later came still back to him. So you see, this is a person with an event, speaking about things that he knows. That is how I met my co-founder, and it's been a journey. Second co-founder, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I will share. So while we were running Zig, I share some various content because I want to create awareness and create awareness on how business owners could be able to do better in terms of running warehousing, running logistics. So this time I share an article, and somebody likes, that is Patrick Martins, who has been a senior VP in DHL. He's been part of the top creams there. So the guy reaches out, likes a comment, and even makes a comment on one of the posts. And Ivan tells me, hey, boss, the kind of information you're sharing out there is attracting attention. We have a very, very senior guy from DHL that has liked what you've shared. So I look out, I connect, sharing the journey. I actually see that he has worked in other markets, helped DHL set up the e-commerce, has worked in the US, in South Africa. So I see actually this could be a great complement into what we are doing. I reach out, tell him this is what we are doing, and we will be more than glad to just run off ideas with you. So that has been the journey. So in looking at what you want to build, either you can have everything, but for me, I didn't have the capital, I didn't have supply chain background, I didn't have technical background as much as I had an idea that would help in the supply chain industry. So in reaching out to people who have various skills, I would be able to complement what I have. So Patrick, having international exposure, having worked in other e-commerce, has really grown than what it is in Africa. Even having worked in tech, in e-commerce, and struggled with logistics, how do we be able to now join our heads together, make the idea that I had better? And that was the journey that I found my co-founders. So one thing I would say, there are three things that you should really be careful on: who you marry, who you found your business with, and what you do even as an individual. So a co-founder is also like, for lack of a better word, a spouse. So even in your journey in looking out, we know that there are relationships that lack, either out of values, but also at how you approach things. It's good to be very honest from the word go, that what we are looking at building this, how I work, try to spend a lot of time together in trying to understand each other, but also be very honest that if, William, I'm reaching out to you because I know you have a background in this, you may have a great skill set, but not a match as a co-founder. So somebody having the right skills that you need may not necessarily mean they would be a great co-founder. Do you like share the kind of approach in terms of dealing with problems, with looking at things? So that would be a really key integral part. Even before, the skills are great, but then there's more to somebody who would hold your back when things are thick. Would it be somebody who will be able to stand behind you and own up that, yes, I know George, that was not really right, but do I still believe in those visions? Because there will be times you'll find yourself doing things that really did not have the right outcome, but then the intention was right. So there are various things that to consider in trying to find a co-founder, but definitely one complementing, then skills, but then values. Those are very key. And then the vision that you have, are you looking at somebody who has been there, seen it, done it, that even as you are to build, because people buy from you based on relationships, people buy from people. But also apart from that, also there will be people who will give you an opportunity that, have you been tried and tested? So if George has not been tried and tested in the international market, would Patrick be able to fit that gap? When you speak about tech, who do people see in the team that will be able to have that brought out? And then you continue learning.
Great. Great. So I think I'm learning a lot also as a person. Sometimes, George, we believe that a co-founder is that guy that we went to high school with or to college with or somebody I know. But from your story, actually, it means that you can pick a co-founder from anywhere. You can pick a co-founder from LinkedIn or from a forum, as long as from what you're saying is that there are those complementarities. You have shared vision, you have shared values. You can make great co-founders, right? So I think our viewers are listening to this conversation. In case you're thinking like, where can I get a co-founder who is the right fit for a co-founder seat? I think George has shared really a great perspective around that. So thank you, George, for that, and I appreciate that. And then the team hiring, which is a very interesting thing. I'm sure when I reflect about hiring and the people that you want to bring on board, usually even from my own mistakes in the past, I think we don't think about that very well as entrepreneurs, especially if you're starting up. Like the people that you are bringing in should bear the DNA of the business, right? Because what you're doing at the start is like you're building a family. You want to bring people who share your vision, because sometimes when you're starting off, and I think we've had some of these conversations in other forums, is that you really don't have lots of money to pay people, right? So you really need great talent, but also you need people who share in your vision, who see where the business is going, and they are bought into what you're doing. So George, could you share with us what has been your philosophy around hiring people? Is that something that you think about actively? Do you see a lot of value in terms of like the caliber of people, the quality of people that you bring on board to help you run the business? Can you kind of get us into your space a little bit around that, George?
I believe as a business owner, you're socializing how well you're able to tap into other complementary talent. And your staff, your employee, those people that you're hiring, the main goal is to have them help you deliver a solution. Because saying I'm the CEO does not mean I'm the best in the company in terms of skills. It means that as a leader, I'm able to, number one, accept that I need help, and the help will come from people that either I will hire or that I will have as co-founders, because every one of us, like at Afrigility, we are all employees at Afrigility. So Afrigility is our employers, the company. So in looking at to hire, it means that this is a person who will be able to help you, even as the visionary, be able to take the business from one step out to another. And what is it that will make somebody even agree to come to work for you? I know there are a lot of people that are looking for jobs, but people looking for jobs is not enough for you to hire them. It means these people have to answer to a certain need that the organization has, and not just the need, but also they are a right fit. Do I mean out of this? We'll always burn your fingers in, you expect somebody to deliver a lot. They may have the skill, but for example, especially in startups, you go hire somebody who has really a lot of experience, having worked with a very big brand, and maybe they are not the right people as at now. At the early stages, you need builders, people who can put ego down, people who can be able to fold their shirts and be able to work and get their hands dirty at the early stages. So as a business owner, you have to identify where business is at any one one given time. If it's at very early formative stages, you need people who can be able to come in as builders. At some point, your business will be scaling, will be growing. At that point, you will be needing people who can scale your business. And who you needed for your business when it was between 0 to 1 year to 2 years may not be the person you will need when the business will be 3 to 4 years old. So businesses are dynamic, roles are dynamic in companies. So even in hiring, it should be dynamic. That at one point you're hiring somebody because they will come and help you build. At some point, you will need somebody who will need to help you manage. And at another point, you will need somebody who will need you to help you scale. In all those stages, hiring is a very critical. Hire people who will challenge you to be better, but also help your organization become better. But also in the early stages, because you don't have all the resources or you do not have the capital, you have to do some trade-offs. Like, for example, currently, because we know that we need top talent, either we will have to set part of the equity in the company, what we call employee stock options. That number one, you're able to offer that, but also number two, there are people who would be, and have realized this, actually building Afrigility, who, if you have a great vision, you are a great leader, that they would be willing to come and tell you that, George, we know you do not have the money to pay us, but we are willing even to commit 3 to 4 hours per week to help you build your business, actively transition into a full-time role. So you have to look at what stage and be able to look at how can I get that done in the market, either by engaging people part-time, so that these people still need to run their families' obligations. No one can volunteer in your company, and even if they do, it has to be for a greater purpose, that somebody still even invest their personal time. So in terms of payment, there are people who will also come and work for you, not because you are the best in terms of payment, but because you provide either the best place to earn, the best place to build here, so that they are banking on the vision that you have, that this actually has the potential of becoming something great. So I can sacrifice today, not getting a very big salary, and be able to build something that will be able to give me the best opportunity in the coming years. So various reasons, but as a business owner, you package that in for me. Because I always believe that every day you are selling your vision to your employees, they're your first customers.
That's right.
Your first customer as a business is not only the customer who comes and pays, it is the person that takes over to help you serve or deliver that solution.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's really great. That's deep. Yeah. Thank you, George. Maybe the topic we wouldn't end this session without talking about is a capital. George, I know you shared a little bit about capital, that capital is not only money. Capital can be your time investment. Capital can be your networks. There's so many forms of capital that people can harness to build their business. And it depends on what kind of an idea do you have and what kind of resources have you built around yourself. But let's talk of capital as money now, in this case. How did you raise money when you're starting the business? And also, how have you continuously done fundraising? Maybe you're even thinking of fundraising. How are you thinking about this? What the approach are you taking to raise more money? I'm sure as you scale, you want to really like to outscale yourself, to outscale the money that you as a judge and maybe the partners can be able to bring on the table. So how are you thinking about that, George? George, did you get that question?
Thank you. So when I was starting off Afrigility, even before I reached out to anyone as an employee, of the mistakes I had made at Terran Sky, I needed, number one, to have a company that will have structure. So what I did using, because at that time I couldn't even hire people. Yeah. You can hear me?
Yes, please go on.
Hello. Hello. Still there, William? Yeah, in
Yes,
regards to the
George.
question on capital. So I was saying how I've worked at Afrigility in terms of attracting capital and raising capital. So capital is the greatest capital for any entrepreneur is revenue from sales. But if before you start selling, you may need, like, for example, to build the tech. So how we've been able to navigate this has been, one, initially, when I was setting up the business, I reached out through a platform called Micromenta because I needed to put in the structures. Because anyone investing in your business, they will need to find a structured way of doing things so that even when people fund you, they do not fund you and then you misuse that money, or a company that does not have structure. So what I did back then, I reached out to a group of advisors through Micromenta, which is a platform that where you can get people that have global experience to be able to get value or give you your business ideas, help you validate and test some of the things that you are doing. So initially, out of the team that I was able to put from an advisor's angle, it was resourceful for me to be able to even think around how I would be able to attract resources. So how we've looked at that, some of the investment has come actually from the advisors that we have internally. But apart from that, also the other avenues that we've looked at is, for example, fundraising through venture capital and talking to angel investors, people like, for example, who have really been there in the logistics space, understand the space, and they are now able to commit $10,000, $20,000 to be able to be put in a startup and grow the value based on believing on the solution that we have. Other angles have been also participate through accelerators. Like, for example, just recently, we were part of an accelerator called Hindsight Ventures. So they would lead you to networks that are there within the fundraising space, the tech ecosystem, and also winning awards. Like, for example, there we won some dollars, around $2,000. So that is able to push you. So various forms of fundraising are there in the market. But then for you to fundraise, it means I'm committing some form of capital in your company. You'll have to give up something, and that is maybe equity. There are also other forms of fundraising that you can do. Like, for example, if you're doing something impact social, there are also grants that you can apply there. They are not easy to come by, but they are definitely out there to help you validate what.
Yo, George. George, can you hear me?
Hello, William.
Yeah, I think we suffered some connectivity issues.
Yeah, now I can hear you. I think yeah.
Cool. Let me know whether it's stabilizing on your end. Yeah, I think we had some connectivity issues right there.
starting to sound better.
Okay, great. I think we had you, you were explaining different ways, and you talked about equity. I think that's the last thing I had you talk about.
And I was also saying that various other forms. There can be grants, there can be personal contribution, like especially the greatest is the sweat capital that you're able to put. So like, for example, you've had, if we are building a technical solution, do you have somebody who has a talent that can be able to help you deliver on a basic MVP that has basic features, be able to put together your problem, the problem that you're solving, because I always say that capital to commit, there are so many needs that need resources. So there are a lot of you or a lot of us that are competing for the same capital. So even by the time you're locking this capital from the various sources, it means you've also done quite some work. Either people will invest in you based on your reputation, your resilience, or there are people who, based on your never say die mentality, they will know that this is a person, even if we invested in, out of their track history, that they will not just give up if things became challenging. The other thing is, somebody will, do you have any kind of traction? What have you done so far, even before we come to invest on you? You'll tell them, like, for example, we've been able to move from this milestone to this milestone, so we are looking for help to move to the next milestone. So even to something you've already started doing on your own, even before you reach out to somebody to bring in some form of capital.
Okay, wonderful. So great, George, we are just at the edge of our time. I see you've seen some comments here, Zaina saying, good to see you, George. Looking forward to an insightful engagement. Gerard there, great host, great guest, very insightful discussion on a great forum. The future lies in logistics. So thank you so much. I don't know if our viewers, there's anyone who has a question to George. Maybe there's something that you'd like George to highlight before we close this session. Kindly put that on chat and we'll be able to see that. George, I don't know whether you have, so George will be, George is joining us again. Cool, great. So so viewers, if you have a question or you have a comment, kindly put it in chat and George will be able to address that. George, I don't know whether you have like parting shot. We have like 2 minutes to the end of our session.
I think yeah. So I would there are a lot of problems that are out there. Problems, opportunities. Every problem has an answer, and that answer could
George, I think there is still a connectivity challenge. I'm sure they can hear you well.
So in looking,
okay, George is experiencing some challenges with this connection. Let's see whether he's able to join us again. Just a parting shot. But in case our viewers, in case you have any questions that you would like to pop up to George for him to respond, kindly put that in chat, in the chat, and then George will be able to respond. We are waiting for George to rejoin. I think he had connection issues. Yeah, but we are coming with at the top of the hour. We are coming to the end of this session. I'm sure our viewers, you've heard, you've carried something home, something that is helpful from this conversation with George, borrowing from his experiences and what he's doing with his team at Afrigility. I think that has been great. I'm just, checking around whether he's able to join us. If not, then I think we'll consider it done. And in case you have any question that you'd like us to throw to George, I think I'll be happy to do that. And that is if he is not able to join us in a minute. Yeah, let's checking. We can still do some follow-up with him later. Cool. I think we'll bring it to an end. I wish to sincerely thank you, and also George. I thank George for being able to join us today and sharing, being so generous with information, sharing with us about his journey and the amazing work that he's doing with Afrigility. So that is great. I see George has come back. Yeah, George, you're back.
Sorry, I think today my behavior is early. So, yeah, thank you. Just for my parting shot, I was saying that as businesses, may we build also individuals, build families, because I always say at the end of the day, when things fail, we'll try entrepreneurship. Some of the times things will not work. The secret is in how we build our support systems, families, those our loved ones. They really form a great foundation. As an entrepreneur is as good as the support that he has behind him, both from work and from family. So those are very key. We are building businesses. May we also build wholesome individuals, because it's a depressing world. But if you have a great supportive ecosystem, even through that you are going through, you will be able to go through them with grace, because it's never done until it's done. So there are a lot of opportunities for provide solutions in, but also how prepared, how well mentally we, and how great of a supportive ecosystem we are in determines the quality of entrepreneur that we will be able to churn out. But also, even in building businesses, I always say that yes, competition is good. We are building in a competitive landscape, but we are yet to build in a way that is so competitive. Like the logistics industry, we've only scratched less than 1% billion-dollar market just within the logistics space. So there's a lot to build. May we look for complementarity. If you're a business owner, look at which businesses are there that you can add value to, so that as you are, because we are serving the same customers. So even in building businesses, we are not just building businesses in laws. Let's build businesses that will make the whole ecosystem better, so that there's value for everyone. And that is how we will be able to grow our infrastructure in Africa, the value of our businesses, because it's in the collective of the ecosystem that we are actually able to say that the business environment in Africa is conducive, is supportive, is collaborative. And may we also, I'm more than happy to help anyone in this call that will feel that I could be of value, because how I look at things, even at Afrigility, is not just making money, but also how can we help you even figure out what it means to run logistics, to even know how you can do better and plan better. Because if we can't grow from information, then even when it comes to the point of service, sometimes you even don't know you need a warehouse, because you think our warehouses are just a big structure. So let's continue talking. Let's build one another. Let's support one another, but also let's buy local. It's easy for somebody to buy from an international brand. I believe we have, but also
Okay, George, thank you so much. You never know how much I appreciate your time and, committing, being so generous to discuss with us this morning. I'm truly, truly honored. Thank you so much for making time to join us this day. To our viewers, thank you so much also for being there for us and joining us, and also learning from the journey, from the things that George has been doing and what he's doing currently. So I have been your host, William, and from the studio, until next time, it's goodbye. Thank you, and be blessed.